Thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. So many advertisers and agencies miss out by siloing their spend, planning, execution, and measurement of their campaigns. Very often, one agency will buy TV, while another buys digital, while another buys traditional. Or the same agency buys all, but the brand stakeholders don't plan out campaigns effectively enough together. It goes on frequently still today. Sona Pehlivanian is the Vice President of Addressable Campaign Management and Operations at New York Interconnect, and she's a subject matter expert at leveraging data for more effective TV and cross-channel campaigns. And on this episode, we'll discuss addressable TV, leveraging that data, planning out cross-platform campaigns, more effective buying and coordinating media dollars, and double-digit ROI. So let's tune in to a New York Interconnected VP with a campaign shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Sona, thank you so much for joining us on A Shark's Perspective today. If you would, please give us a brief overview of your background and career thus far.
Hi, Kenneth. Thanks so much for having me. So as far as my career, it started way back in college at Rutgers, where I sold ads for the school newspaper just to make some beer money. From there, we were recruited by a lot of media companies because of the nature of our door-to-door sales. So I started, my first job was in the publishing side, but a lot of my positions were on the ad sales marketing. I moved on to one of the first digital rep companies. We sold some of the first ads for Yahoo, Netscape, Hotmail. Then from there, I went on to Cablevision, and we built and launched a hyper-local search engine. From there, I went off to the high-tech startup land, which was really interesting. We literally had to find office space, build shelves. From there, I also became involved in the PR and investor side of the business. From there, when that kind of rose and fell, then we went on to the first pure VOD networks, MagRack and Sports School, and then landed at Cablevision to launch their advanced advertising team. So I was employee number one. We started there with the interactive TV channels, and then that eventually morphed into addressable advertising. So somewhere along the way, I've landed on the ops and data side of the house. When I look back, most of my positions were newly created and in support of new technology advertising opportunities. As you can imagine, along the way, most of those no longer exist, but addressable advertising truly takes the best of everything that I've worked on in my career, and it's really a thrill to have seen it from concept through to what's now an integral part of advertising plans.
Well, there's your life career story. Is you could title it From Hotmail to Advanced TV.
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard Hotmail in a while. So for those that don't know, Sona and I have worked on many a TV campaign together, and we've laughed and cried. It was mostly her laughing while I was crying, but I know you're seriously an expert in the space. And for those that aren't familiar with pulling together a joint venture like New York Interconnect with some of the biggest players in the space, explain, if you will, a little bit about the evolution and how the players like Cablevision, Comcast, and Altice all got together.
Sure. So Cablevision, as you know, was a public company, but that felt and operated very much like a family company. This was the kind of place where people started and spent their entire careers, met and married their spouses. Then when Altice acquired the company, it was quite a shakeup. But it really offered the promise of a global perspective. Now, the Interconnect it's been around for over 20 years, but for the past 20 years, it was Comcast and Cablevision, now Altice. Earlier this year, our division spun off as a separate LLC to form the new New York Interconnect, and Charter joined the party with Altice and Comcast. So now we represent 6.4 million households in the most powerful DMA in the country, with the addition of DirecTV, Fios, and Dish. Nice. So we now truly have the entire New York DMA, where the past 20 years of the Interconnect, we were missing Manhattan. Sure. So now with the addition of Charter, now we truly have the whole New York DMA.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the creation of the new New York Interconnect puts us in a unique position in that we operate like a startup in many respects. So we get to forge our own path in the industry. We get to operate as a completely independent entity. We're in greater control of our budget, our creatives, and strategy. But at the same time, we have the backing of our mighty partners. We have the necessary resources, not to mention a client base that we've built over the last 20 years. Two big components that come with large, well-established companies. So it's truly the best of both worlds.
Well, I think a lot of marketers today, obviously, we're very used to leveraging data, whether it's, first party, third, or some combination, but we're used to doing that primarily in digital. And for a lot of us, like you and I, we're used to it in TV, but a lot of the traditional digital folks still don't understand the capabilities in TV. And I know you and I have had many conversations over the years about this, but how does leveraging data have an impact on the efficiency of TV campaigns?
Sure. So whether a brand is buying a traditional linear campaign or targeting through Addressable, there's an incredible amount of data out there that can not only help target your audience, but find when and where they're watching. So we're making your campaign work harder by using data. And then the rich census level performance data can also help inform future campaigns and help prove our ROI. So you're getting the actual data of where your campaigns ran, which networks, which day parts. So you're seeing exactly where things ran, and it helps you inform your future campaigns and helps make your current campaigns more efficient.
Well, when you think of it, what sort of excites you more with leveraging data? Is it more of the targeting or more of the attribution that just sort of helps you see a campaign succeed?
Wow, it's like asking to pick between your two children.
I know.
So I think on the targeting side, I think every campaign can benefit from using data. So I think that helps on a large scale, having data help make your campaigns more targeted, more efficient. On the measurement side, what we can measure and the amount of data that's out there is, on both sides, on the targeting and the measurement side, is exciting. And when you hear about new data sources popping up all over the place, it's just unbelievable how companies have found ways to wrangle new data sources and combine them and make them and package them, make them easy to use.
Sure. So as you well know, MVPDs and data companies that play in the addressable space, and many to most of the media and ad agencies tend to have different views on how campaigns best succeed. But in your mind, what are you seeing succeed the best?
So the most successful campaigns are those that allow the data to drive the decision on where and when to place the media rather than traditional buying trends. So if you're buying addressable, the ad will really only be seen if your target is watching. So it shouldn't matter what network or day part that may be in. That's a really big shift in planning and buying, but it works. And also the incredible collaboration between all three entities, the TV, the operator, the media buyer, and the data company, has really changed the way we all define success, and it will continue to evolve and progress for the foreseeable future. So if you are going to buy media the way that you always bought it, maybe you see some success that way, but we're really seeing measurable success when you're letting the data guide what you're doing. And it's there in black and white.
Yeah.
We have all the numbers to prove it. If we can show you your people are watching, even though you didn't think you wanted this network, there's people there and they're watching, and they're open. This is the people that you want to reach, and maybe you wouldn't have found them if you just bought the traditional ways.
So what are some of the challenges that keep you up at night with how advertisers and agencies still struggle daily when looking at the types of campaigns and at least trying to compare digital versus addressable or linear versus addressable? I mean, we've still got such a knowledge gap in TV with a lot of those agencies. What are the things that you're seeing that are really kind of keeping you up at night?
So our challenge is when you're talking addressable advertising, who do you speak with at the agency? And since we're the New York Interconnect now, and we have so many partnerships out there, we're not just selling TV. We're selling OTT. We're selling digital. We're selling so whatever you want to buy in the New York DMA, we can sell this to you. So when we go and we speak to an agency, sometimes they come back to us and say, well, I can't buy that because that's not in my budget line. And that's frustrating to us because we believe that with all of this data and across all of these platforms, the campaign should be looked at holistically rather than siloed and solely based on cost.
Couldn't agree
So
more.
I'd rather come to you and give you a big proposal that's going to include, it's a multifaceted campaign, and we're going to reach people all over the place, and we want to present this to you. But it can't always be bought that way today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen meaningful success from campaigns that thoughtfully execute across platforms and take advantage of all the data that's available and the knowledge of an experienced sales organization. So ideally, we can plan out a cross-platform plan that is most effective and efficient for an advertiser, but they can't always buy it because it has to be, this piece has to be bought by a different group, and we can only buy this piece. And you're right, there isn't the knowledge across industries is getting there, but it's not there everywhere yet.
Yeah. So what are the industries and verticals that you see today that are just really killing it with addressable and advanced TV?
So automotive for sure.
Yeah.
It's the perfect candidate for addressable to take one campaign and segment the right audience with the right message. A car is a really big purchase. You're going to have it for a long time. So it's really important for the ad to truly speak to the customer. There's rich data to prove ROI, not just for sales, but for foot traffic in the dealerships, foot traffic into your competitors, website visitation, even brand lift. There's so much out there that we can use to help find the target audience, segment it so that you're using, the SUV ad goes to the right audience, the sports car ad goes to the right audience, and then we can measure all of this on the back end.
And all the brands too. All the brands in auto. I mean, Mercedes, Honda, Toyota, GM, Ford, they were all doing this.
Yes, and they are, and it's the biggest category for all of the addressable
Sure.
players. It just makes sense,
Sure.
and it's it doesn't make sense not to. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Travel is a big one. A lot is done online. So with this website visitation, we can see if people saw the ad, if they went to the website to research. We can put pixels on a buy page. There's a lot of things you can do in travel. Financials also a big category. There's a lot of, especially on the measurement piece, there's a lot of things you can measure on the back end. And if you think about companies who have a whole range of credit cards, you can think of them like an automotive company. So they have all different kinds of products, and they're trying to reach different people. So one company might, have, an entry-level credit card. Another might have ones for the high wealth individuals. Another might be promoting their financial services, retirement services. So you can really take one company and segment it out to all of their different products, and we can really find those people. And there's true ROI on the back end for that. Another industry that's really popping up is pharma. So that's popped up in the last year, and I think next year we're going to see a lot more of that come in. But industry aside, most advertisers now benefit from targeting advertising because it reduces the wasteful spend of ad dollars, and they get a clear and definitive ROI.
Sure. So what are some of the examples? I know you brought up travel with, having that sort of cross-channel look, but what are some of the other examples where you've seen cross-channel campaigns using TV really succeed?
So cross-channel, this is what we talk every day.
Yeah,
Cross-channel is very effective for most brands, especially if you plan it that way. So if you're not buying it siloed, if you're planning it all together, if you plan out your cross-channel, you execute it that way, and then you can measure it that way. Obviously, we've seen double-digit lift in automotive and even ticket sales. So that's another area where cross-channel has really worked. When you're looking for concert tickets or play tickets, you see an ad on TV, then maybe you go online and you research it. So I think that's another really good example of a good cross-channel strategy to prove sales. And we've seen when used together, TV and digital have proven to increase ROI upwards of 60%.
And it's just,
they're big numbers.
It's an obvious point. I mean, if you coordinate your advertising, will it work well together? Yes, no. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's something you always have to prove out. So Sona, you've obviously noticed a big shift in TV over the years. Where do you sort of see the industry evolving to, at least in the near term?
So a few years ago, there was a call for scale. That's what everyone spoke about. But I am really happy to say that we are there, and it really happened quickly. But for me, I see the industry evolving around a few main themes. So the first involves standardization across operators and platforms. So it's got to be easier to plan, buy, report, and measure large-scale addressable campaigns across operators and platforms. Pioneers like one-to-one are making it easier and efficient for the advertisers, but we as operators need to continue to work together, particularly as the industry moves toward an audience-based buying model. But the good news is that we are headed in that direction, and this collaboration and consolidation is happening as we speak. So we're on a lot of calls with all the operators trying to figure out how we truly do easier planning and buying for Addressable.
Are you seeing any kind of different shifts in reporting as well with timing? I mean, I know so often we used to talk about 30 to 90 day attribution window for a major car purchase, and try telling an agency to wait 30 to 90 days on top of a 30 to 60 day campaign. But are you seeing anything in there that is starting to jump out as a positive to you?
So as far as getting the data back quicker, especially in automotive, the sales data seems to be coming in quicker. So the advertisers don't have to wait as long to get the data back. So you're right. When an advertiser would finish a campaign and wouldn't get the report till 6 to 8 months later. So, it was almost on a rolling basis.
Because we're so patient. We can wait that long.
Yes, they're all very, very patient with that. So there's two trends I'm seeing with those particular types of reports. So one is, again, the data is coming in quicker and on a quicker cadence from the sources. So the states reporting in the registration data, the OEMs reporting in their sales data. So the Polk and Experian, the ones who have all of that data, are able to get it quicker and able to turn these around quicker. And a lot of the data companies are automating their reporting, so as soon as they get that data, they're able to crank it out and turn it around much quicker as long as they get the exposure data in from the advertisers. So those are two things that are happening there. The other thing, which has become more popular lately, are these, especially in automotive, because it is a long lead time. I mean, people don't see an ad and go run to the dealership and buy a car in a day. It is a bit of a there is a bit of a lead time. It's a big purchase. There's a lot of things to consider. But they're doing these kind of midterm looks at the data, and those used to be cost prohibitive, as you know. We used to have a lot of conversations about price when we worked together, but those were always fun ones. But because the companies are automating their processes for these reports, it's not as expensive for them to produce them. So if we're able to give exposure data sooner, they can take a midterm look. And they've actually even developed some algorithms to try to predict what the final result is going to be. So you can get a quick look sometime mid-campaign or shortly after the campaign ended. And then they can try to take, through all the data they've gathered over the years, they can say, all right, well, we've collected this much data at this point in time, And we think that that's going to result at the end of your 90-day look-back window to this number. And they're really close. And I think they get probably about 10% plus or minus on their results at the close, just based on that midterm look and prediction. So that's something that's really helped a lot, is like the automation of taking all this data in and turning it around quickly. I mean, when I look back at what our lead times were, just a couple of years ago, it's amazing where we've come, where we're able to get campaigns going quicker and we're able to report things quicker because there's a lot of automation.
Well, and you've got a few agencies that are major players in that space who drive a lot of the campaigns, who've also helped that process speed up as well. So it's been a good evolution.
So continuing around the industry evolution, so the other big theme is around holistic media buying. The screens are everywhere, and as more and more of them are becoming addressable, the lines between platforms are increasingly blurred.
Absolutely.
So TV is learning best practices from digital. Digital is learning from TV. OTT, which has really emerged this year in a big way,
Sure.
Those opportunities really bridge that gap even faster because it's really both. It's TV and it's digital. So you can argue that it's a lot of OTT is on a big screen, but it behaves very much like digital. So OTT is bridging that gap, and other industries such as out of home are joining the party as well. So it's really an exciting time. I mean, I see the industry evolving to where an advertiser will be able to buy TV and digital from the same wrap. Providers will be able to sell across platform to the same buyer, and your measurement will be all provided together. And then I think the last theme is the consolidation of providers and platforms through strategic partnerships like the New York Interconnect. So from Oath to Xandr to Viacom, all of these entities have realized that the power of being able to form partnerships and truly offer advertiser audiences everywhere, regardless of the screen, time, or platform, is incredible. Our CEO, Ed Reniker, just published a great thought leadership piece that delves into just that, the power of joint ventures and why they're so important in today's media landscape. And when you think of it, it's a no-brainer because by creating more synergy among media and ad players, we can offer more efficient one-stop shop solutions for our clients, which is what the Interconnect is all about.
Couldn't agree more. So, Sona, we've come to that time. Are you ready for the 5 most important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Oh, boy.
Here we go. You've been warned.
Let's go, Shark.
All right. New York Giants or the New York Jets?
The Jets.
VOD or OTT?
OTT.
The Big Apple or Red Delicious Apples?
The Big Apple. I'm the New York Interconnect.
Exactly. Sweet tea or Long Island iced tea?
Long Island iced tea.
And the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits or cornbread? I'm from New York.
I know.
I guess cornbread.
Not a lot of Cracker Barrels in your part of the country, so.
Not really.
So then where do the TV and marketing peeps go to find out more about you and connect with you, to find out more about your thought leadership? And, they may even have some additional questions about your preference for cornbread.
Sure. So if you can spell my name, you can find me on LinkedIn. But you can also be sure to follow the New York Interconnect on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Definitely. Well, I'll put your name on asharkperspective.com. So, Sona, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you, Kenneth. This was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. So there was my conversation with Sona Pehlivanian, the Vice President of Addressable Campaign Management and Operations at New York Interconnect, and she's a subject matter expert at leveraging data for more effective TV and cross-channel campaigns. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, every campaign can benefit from leveraging data to help targeting a current campaign as well as future campaigns post-measurement. I love her comments when she said, the most successful campaigns are those that allow the data to drive the decision on where and when to place the media rather than traditional buying trends. So if you buy Addressable, the ad will only be seen if your target is watching. So it shouldn't matter what network or day part that may be in. That's really a big shift in planning and buying, but it works. Good point. It's there in black and white. Buy the measurable way and let the data guide what you're doing. Second, plan out a cross-platform campaign. It can't always be done this way, but it should. You'll have one agency buying one set of digital ads and another buying TV. And if it's not different agencies, then often it's brand stakeholders who are siloed as well. Again, as she said, we believe that with all this data and across all these platforms, the campaign should be looked at holistically rather than siloed and solely based on costs. I could not agree more. Third, cross-channel is what they talk every day, and it's what you should talk every day. It's very effective if you plan it, execute it, and then measure it that way. A key to doing that is don't buy siloed. If you do it right, then there's a good chance that you'll see double-digit lifts. She's seen it. I've seen it across a lot of different publishers. When used together, they've seen TV and digital with a proven increased ROI as high as 60%. Coordinate your advertising. When you think of how expensive and effective TV dollars can be, reducing the wasteful spend of ad dollars and getting a clear, definitive, and higher ROI will benefit you so much more. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you for the privilege of your time in order to discuss one of the many components that makes up marketing today. And let's get it on the ballot if we have to. New York's Manhattan needs a Cracker Barrel so that we can debate further biscuits or cornbread. So join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.